Thank you, members. Before we get started, I know this is a difficult topic, and I just wanted to say that I know we have a lot of people lined up at the back with some very good questions to ask and things to discuss, and if you would just give me just a few minutes to kind of walk through the bill and lay it out in the manner I think it needs to be, then I can assure you I'll be here and delighted to take whatever questions or comments we'll have. I'll be up here for all the amendments, and we'll just kind of methodically work through this together. If that's all right, just a little history. We passed voter ID law as SB 14 in 2011. Now, interestingly, only 49 of us are still here today, 21 Republicans, and 28 Democrats that were here in 2011. I know a court has ruled otherwise, but as someone who was here in 2011, I don't believe that any of us intended in any way to discriminate or to have any discriminatory or disparate effect. A majority of us in 2011, I think, simply believed that it was pragmatic to require an ID to ensure voter integrity, because without it, election results could be skewed and voters could be disenfranchised if votes were stolen. We didn't want anyone to be disenfranchised. We didn't want any disparate impact. We simply thought that it was pragmatic and appropriate in good law to require a voter identify themselves formally at the polling place. Now, after the law took effect, there was a trial and appeals that have taken 6 years to date and are still ongoing. Interestingly, the plaintiffs' lawyers crossed the state looking for people who couldn't vote because of the law. After 6 years of that litigation, all the way up to the Fifth Circuit, they have only found problems with 16 voters. And in fact, I believe the Plaintiffs' Counsel submitted 600,000 names of people who had been potentially disparately impacted by the law. And after examining all 600,000, only 16 people, 6 by the Fifth Circuit and 10 by the trial court, were found to have had problems. When we passed the law back in 2011, we actually thought mail-in ballot would suffice. As you know, that's for people 65 years of age and older, people who have a disability and cannot make it to the polling place or are out of town. We thought that that would suffice for people like the 16. But the Fifth Circuit didn't agree that that was sufficient. Now, for where we are, the Fifth Circuit also said that the Texas legislature has the right, in fact, I would say the duty, to craft a permanent remedy. So here we are today trying to do that. SB 5 addresses every situation that the court has found in 6 years of litigation. People in all of the situations they identified will now have boxes to check that they lacked transportation or have a difficult work schedule or don't have the underlying documents. Senate Bill 5 is a thoughtful approach to ensuring individuals in similar situations to the 16 get to vote a regular ballot, not a provisional ballot. But it also does a good job of ensuring ballot integrity at the same time. That's the whole point of what we did in 2011, and we're here today to clarify that. So if SB 5 changes, or if SB 5 passes, what changes from last November's election process? Very, very little. Voters facing a reasonable impediment can still vote by declaration. And there are 7 impediment reasons that a voters can check on the impediment declaration. One is transportation difficulties. Another is that they lack supporting documents to get an SB 14 ID, like not being able to get their birth certificate. They can check that they simply have a work schedule that makes it difficult to vote, or that they have lost or had their ID stolen, that they have a disability or illness, that they have family responsibilities that keep them away from the poll, or even that their SB 14 ID has been applied for but has not been received. I can't think of any other situation that anyone would have that those 7 reasons for impediment cannot allow them to vote. Now, one last point, the effective date on this is way off in January of 18. We did that because there were complaints that the court-ordered declaration in August last time didn't give time enough for a thorough education for elected officials as we would have preferred. This bill has a long lead-in time to ensure that the Secretary of State can train poll workers thoroughly. Members, I think these changes reflect a very thoughtful approach to ensuring we avoid disfranchising voters, either those that had reasonable difficulty obtaining their SB 14 ID or those who suffered the effects of voter fraud. Now, if we do not pass this today, there is a hearing coming up shortly. The concern is that if we do not do this, which is simply almost precisely codifying the Ramos Intermediate Court decision that we had our last election under, if we do not pass this today, then we could quite possibly see SB 14, any type of voter ID, struck from the Texas law by it being permanently enjoined. And I think that, again, that would prevent us from avoiding disenfranchised voters, and it would run the risk of people suffering the effects of voter fraud.